So, with 28 years later, about to come out, about to stun us again with this infected craziness, I've decided to look back at the franchise, the 28 franchise, if you want to call it that. So, I'm going to watch each film leading up to it, and then I'm going to go hopefully to cinema and watch that film and give you a review after. But we're going to start with the first two now to catch us all up on the events of the 28 years universe. So, we're going to start with 28 Days. Strange way to start the franchise, really. Very different from the other movies. Obviously about a girl who's in rehab for 28 days. Obviously it's showing us the world before the outbreak. You know I'm only joking. It's just a funny coincidence, isn't it? I mean, the 28 days, 28 days later. It makes sense. Showing that film was called that, really. But it's a funny joke. It's on the internet. I thought I'd put it on here. It's just a laugh. Anyway, so we're going to start, obviously, with the original 28 Days Later. Now, this film is a film that made me feel very, very uncomfortable when I first watched it. So I'm going to watch it again now, and we'll come back and we'll chat about what I thought of it. I'm ready for this one. This is a fun ride, this one. So I've now sat down, I've watched 28 Days Later, first time in a while, and I've got to say it still holds up. It's still a great film. You're on the edge of your seat through the entire movie. It does something character-wise. It makes you sympathise so much with these characters. It builds them. So in the short time it has, like an hour and 108 minutes. And in that time, you have a connection with these characters. You care what happens to them, and it is phenomenally done. So what we talk about, basically, at the start of the movie, it's a load of animal rights activists going into research facility and trying to break out some chimpanzees. Obviously you think they're the good guys, but then the scientist comes out, finds them about to do this, warns them they're infected with rage virus, don't let them out, they don't listen, chimp comes out, and that's how the virus gets out. Then you get the fact the chimp attacks this woman, and the second she gets a little bit, she gets infected and the virus takes hold instantaneously, and this virus transfers fast and takes effect so fast it is ridiculous. I mean, when I was a kid and I first heard about rabies, like the illness rabies, this is what I imagined in my head, this sort of like virus that like makes you go crazy. That's just what I thought in my head what it was. So I'm wondering if that's the inspiration behind what the virus was. So the idea that this thing can like take hold of you, this virus will spread into you and just drive you insane, and that's the way the virus will then spread. Because viruses, their sole purpose is to spread and make more and breed, I suppose. So the way they do it is to transfer from one person to another. So it infects the human host and makes them crazy, so they'll attack and go after whatever's near them, which will spread the virus. It's kind of very similar to that fungus infection that affects ants and then makes them go somewhere to spread this. It makes them like climb high in trees to spread their spores. So it actually affects their brain and makes them do what it wants them to do. So the higher they get, then the spores will spread further. It's a crazy virus. It's called what they based the Last of Us virus on that. It's like a fungal infection. It's crazy. Quadriceps, I think it's called. So this virus is like simmering that capacity where it wants to spread, and to do that, it needs the host to go crazy, run around and infect other people. So then we suddenly cut to a man waking up in hospital 28 days after this breakout. So he wakes up from a coma. It turns out you find it later, he was in a push bike accident. He was a courier on a bike, got hit somehow, and he's woke up in this coma, and now the world's just gone to hell, and there's no one about. So when he wakes up, he goes walking around the streets. There is literally not a soul about. The place is deserted, and London looking like that is shocking. I mean, I'm from London, so I know what it's like. It's a busy place. And I've heard that apparently they filmed all these scenes, the London scenes, or the apocalyptic London scenes, really, really early in the morning. It must have been summer. It must have been like 3 o'clock in the morning in summer, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning in the summer. And they had to film a little bit. And if a car went past, they had to cut the film and film another bit. So they filmed it in like little segments and stuff, like as much footage they could get before a car went past. Because they didn't close down like a section like they do sometimes for filming. They literally just had the London run as ever did it early in the morning. So it must have been very frustrating for the filmmakers trying to do that. And I thought that's a fascinating fact to me. So he's then walking around London. Jimmy's name is, sorry. Jim wakes up walking around London, and he sort of finds drinks machines, gets food and that. And then he goes in, like walks around and finds a church. And then it's the first time we kind of see Infected since that opening scene. And he's in the church. It's a terrifying scene. He's in the church. There's loads of what looks like dead people in the church. Obviously, people go to churches when there's situations like this to try and pray. They think it's a safe space to be in. So he goes into the church, and there's like loads of bodies everywhere. And then he says hello, and suddenly two Infected get up and just stare at him. And it's like, oh, like that. And as a viewer watching it, you're like, whoa, yourself, because like that. And then next thing you know, there's a Infected priest runs through and tries to attack him. He then runs away, and he meets our next two people in the movie, which will be Selena and I can't remember the other guy. I think now goes Mark. And they've kind of been around for a while. They know what's going on, and they kind of feel Jimmy. That's where we get our information as well, because we are kind of like Jimmy in a way. We're waking up to this world of what the world's like now, and then they inform that this infection spread and everything went crazy. And they mentioned that they did hear that New York had fallen and Paris had fallen and stuff like that. But then all the radios went dead, so then they had no information anywhere. Now, it would be silly not to say this is very similar to The Walking Dead. So in The Walking Dead, obviously there's a zombie outbreak, apocalypse thing, and Rick Grimes is comatose in a bed and then wakes up to it's all kicked off, and he's kind of like in this apocalyptic world where zombies have now taken over and people are very few and far between. And he then comes out of the hospital not knowing what's going on, looking for people, and can't find anyone. It's very, very similar to the opening of this. Now, this was actually released a year before the comic book was published. The Walking Dead comic book was published, so it does beg to maybe there was a bit of inspiration from this for the Walking Dead comic book. So then, of course, when we saw the TV show, it looks very similar. Maybe there's nothing to it. It's two people from two different countries had just random ideas, and then these ideas just happen to be very similar. It can happen. So like, there's never, from what I've known, there's never been any like lawsuit or plagiarism or anything like that thing happened because of The Walking Dead. It's just been left to be. So it must have been a situation where two people had similar ideas at the same time. So anyway, so he's now found these two people. They then take him to his parents' house where he finds his parents dead in their bedroom, and they've got a whole picture of him, and they've got a note there saying like, we hope you don't wake up. So like, it's very like a sort of sad sort of thing, because they're assuming their son's going to die in the hospital. They know the world's gone to crap. They're what's left. So then move on a bit more, and they're in the house, and like Jim's parents probably still dead upstairs. I don't know if he buried them or whatever. They're in the house upstairs, and they're all sleeping downstairs. Jim's walking around with a candle, and the Infected see him come smashing through the window. So his neighbours from the past, they smash through and they sort of attack. And the Mark character gets a cut on his arm, and there's blood all over him. He's sort of wiping his arm. Selena, without missing a beat, then hacks Mark to death with a machete. You're like, oh my god, these two have been together for a while. They obviously got a connection, and she just killed him like that. And Selena says, I'll kill you in a heartbeat, because like the infection is that quick, and you have seconds before they're infected and they're coming for you. So you have to kill them quick. And it shows how brutal this world has made Selena, that she's like, she was a chemist, you know what I mean? And now she's like this badass warrior woman who will kill you in a heartbeat. And that's mad. So then we get more movement on. They find a house, and there's like Christmas lights blinking in the house, in a big block of flats. So they go up to the block of flats where they meet the two other characters in the film, which is Frank and Hannah, father and daughter, that have been living in this flat by themselves, like a block of flats, just them in their own little flat, since this outbreak happened. And basically they need help from Selena and Jim to get to Manchester, because they found a broadcast on a radio saying that there's a cure for the infection there. Go there and people will help you, like military people there, and they're going to help you. So that becomes the rest of the film, is that they're going to try and get from London to Manchester to find this military people and to get the help they need. And that is kind of what you would do, because that's your beacon of hope. You need to get there, and that's kind of what's said in this film. That's the only thing you can do is to get to that bit of hope. So they get in a black cab. It turns out the dad's a black cab driver. They get in the black cab, and they just go. And you see these funny little moments where they go to a supermarket and get all the supplies, and just happily walking around the supermarket, grabbing whatever they fancy. There's a real funny conversation between Jim and the dad about which scotch will be better, which alcohol will be better. And he's going, oh, this one's a really good one. He takes like loads of bottles with him and that. And then they go off, and they sort of leave the supermarket. He leaves his credit card behind. So and you're warm into these characters because like normally in these situations you get like a standoff, like the two new people would meet the family and there'll be a bit of friction. The family is so open because they know they need help, and these people are good, generally good people. As Jim says, these are good people, and Selena's like, there are no sort of good people. Like, if it happens, it happens. So it's nice that they're sort of going off, and they sort of bond together. They become almost like a family unit themselves in a funny way, and they go off to find Manchester to find this bit. And I said there's a few little moments on the way where they stop for fuel, and Jim kills a child that's been infected, which is very, again, iconic to The Walking Dead, because there's a scene where Rick kills a child as well early on. So there we go. So we move on a bit more, and they get to Manchester, and they get to like, I suppose like a checkpoint, like a blockade checkpoint thing. And this is where you get the death that is probably the most horrible death in this, possibly the franchise. The guy you don't want to die. The nicest guy in the world, this dad who just wants to protect his daughter, and he's nice to the others. He knows they're going to help. He's helped everyone out, and then it's the way it happens as well, because basically they get to this area and they assume there's no military there. There's nothing there. It's all been a waste of time, wasted journey. And he's angry. He's like, for God's sake, no! And he kicks out, walks off. He needs a moment to himself because he's realised that he's dragged them all that way for nothing. So he needs that moment just for himself. So he then goes and he sits down for it, and there's a crow pecking away. We can see it's pecking away on like a dead body, which I guess someone that was infected, that's died. So the crow's pecking away in that. He then, like, to shut the crow, because the crow make a lot of noise. It's almost like it's laughing, because crows like can't sound laughing. And he goes up to it, he kicks the thing, and as he kicks it, a drop of blood drops down into his eye. And he's like, oh God, like in his eye. And then his daughter comes over to him. He's like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I love you. And then he realises he can probably feel the effects coming, that he's become infected. And he's like, says to her, get away. He shoves her away. He's like, get away from me. Still, in this moment where he knows he's getting infected, he's protecting his daughter. He's like, get away from me. And then the others come running around. And you can see he's starting to do the frothing. He's starting to do the thing. The blood's coming out. He's turned big time into the infected. And this is obviously where your heart breaks, because you should see the girl, she's crying, her dad's there in front of her, turning infected, he's going to attack, and Selena's saying to Jim, like, kill him, because Jim's still got his little baseball bat, and she's like, kill him, and he's like, oh, he's hesitating because he likes this guy, he's like friends with him. And then like you see Jim, he's about to do it, and then boom 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 boom, the infected guy gets shot, Frank gets shot and killed. And then you find the military are there, they were sort of obviously waiting for him to see what was going on, and they sort of came in. And you think, wow, safety, we've got a safe haven, they found the military, this is good. And then they get taken back to the sort of military base, and we get to see a previous Doctor Who, Christopher Eccleston's there. He's in charge of the military. It's a small unit. It makes it sound on the broadcast like it's a facility, everything's sorted out. It's just a small military unit in a manor house, that's all it is. And they go in there and they sort of have dinner with them, they talk about things, and Christopher Eccleston shows Jim around the place, and it's like, we're trying to rebuild again, we've got like a kitchen, we've got hot water, we've got this, we've got that, you'll be happy here, and that. And then they're sitting down to have dinner, and the soldiers are they're very laddish, very boisterous soldiers, you know, as soldiers can tend to be. It's quite like very lad culture, sort of like ribbing each other and joking with each other and that. And suddenly a siren goes off, there's infected coming towards the manor house. All the soldiers run out, and they sort of gun down the infected. When they come back, they're all hyped up and that, and they start grabbing hold of Selena inappropriately. And like there's one soldier who's kind of against this action. He's kind of a more spiritual military man. He's very sort of like voice of reason almost, and he tries to stop it, and has to start shouting at them to stop. Hits one of the other soldiers, then the commander, Christopher Eccleston, comes in, calms it all down, and separates the problems. So he does that, separates, here you go, here you go, here you go, here, sends them all off to do their jobs, and then he wants to talk to Jim privately and have a drink with him. So he takes Jim to have a drink, and it's the bottles that the dad had found in the supermarket that they're drinking from. And then Christopher Eccleston tells him why he left the message. He said he knew that one of the soldiers tried to kill himself, and in desperation he offered the soldiers something they didn't have. He offered them that it'll be okay because I'll get you women. And as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh no, this is dodgy as hell. And you realise what this is, that they wanted the girls. And then like Chris Reckon's character's going like, like, I promised them women, you can join us, Jim, like, you can be with us, but we're going to keep the girls, sort of thing. And then Jim instantly puts the glass down and he runs to the girl. He's like, "Come, we've got to go, we've got to go." He tries to gather him up. As he's running out, when the soldier whacks him in the face with the thing and knocks him down. Then you can sort of hear a commotion as Jim's coming to, and the good soldier, sort of the one that's kind of like against all this, he's trying to hold the rest of them back. They all end up overpowering him. And then you basically know what's going to happen. So basically, the whole purpose of them sending out the message to get anyone to turn up at this blockade, to tell everyone it's safe, was to get women so the men could have their way with that. And it's a horrible, and instantly, as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh my God, I feel so uncomfortable now. This is horrible. Like, why would people do this? This is disgusting. And the fact that the one girl, I think she's like 14 or something as well, and you're just like, Jesus, it hurts your heart. It really does. And it makes you feel so uncomfortable and so horrible. And so suddenly you go from like loving this to really feeling bad for them, sorry for them. You want to help them. It's done so well. So then the soldiers take Jim and the other good guy soldier out to a place to execute them because they just want the women. And sadly, like, the good guy soldier gets shot. There's a bit of a kerfuffle. The good guy soldier gets shot, and then Jim escapes. Lucky Jim manages to escape. And then we get a weird turn here, because then you see Jim suddenly goes feral. It's the only way I can describe it. It's like he's just like, he knows he needs to get back to save the girls, and you see like the soldiers are trying to prepare the girls ready for whatever they're going to do to them. They want to wear nice dresses. It's really twisted and messed up. And then Selena gives Hannah some pills to make her sort of like dopey, so she won't really feel anything from it, and she won't care that much because she's so doped up and sort of off her head a little bit, to try to sort of get her through it. And the soldiers all sort of like thing, and then but Jim's obviously off, and he goes feral and like very like, it's almost like something snaps him, where he suddenly becomes a protector, and it doesn't matter whatever he's got to do, he's going to do, and he's going to go as savage as possible to do it. And it's even the way he looks. He's got bruises and cuts. He comes down here, and he looks pure evil and just like kind of like rage, but without the rage virus. He's just dedicated and focused on, I'm going to get back there. I'm going to kill all these people. I'm going to save those two girls. And that's what he does. So he goes down to the blockade, sets the siren off. So all the soldiers, a lot of soldiers go down to the blockade to try and catch him. A couple stay back with the girls, the rest go down to the blockade. He then just systematically takes them all out. And then he goes back to the manor house, and he does the same thing. They had a chained up rage victim. They were trying to see how long it takes for it to starve. He just lets that out so it can run amok through the house and take out the soldiers. And then he's like peering through the windows, waiting for his moment again. It's almost like he knows like what to do. And he's in there, and he ends up like, obviously he gets to Selena. He saves them all. He saves the family and that. And then we get, but before, actually no, I've missed something, but major. So before that, before they get taken to be executed, he's in a prison cell with the other soldier that's kind of he's the good guy soldier. I think he's Irish. I know where he's from, but he's basically, I think he's religious as well. And he starts talking away, and Jim's kind of not really listening. Suddenly he starts listening to him, and he says like, we're on an island, like there's an outbreak of a disease, and we're on an island. England is an island. There's no way this would have got out. Because as fast as it takes over and what it does, he's like, there's no way this would have got out. Like, it's not the world, it's just our island. And like, Jim's like, what? He's like, we were quarantined. They quarantined us. This is what this is. We're in a quarantine. And Jim's kind of like, okay. So anyway, when Jim escapes from the others, before he goes back to the manor house, he looks up in the sky, and sure enough, he sees a plane flying over. So it isn't the world, it is literally just England, and they've literally shut England down and made it so it's like contained itself so the virus can't escape, which gives you hope. And I think that's what spurs Jim on as well. Like, there's hope. I can save the girls. We can get through this. There can be a future. So then he bolts, and he does what he's just said to you. He attacks everyone, kills everyone, and he like gets to Selena. And there's a moment where, because Jim's obviously, he's got his shot, he's covered in blood, and he's super violent. He's like savage violent. To save Selena, he attacks a soldier, and he beats the living hell out of him. He plunges his fingers into his eyes. It's properly disgusting. I have a thing about eyes. I don't like it. He does that. He kills the guy. He's like, rah, rah, and then he turns to Selena, but he's in shadow, so she can't see if he's infected or not. She's got a machete, she's ready. He steps forward, and you literally think she's going to whack him, Jim, because she's like that. As we saw her before, that Mark character, she just went for it. And she goes to do it, and she stops, because Jim comes into the light, and she stops, and she hesitates, looks at him, and he's like, that was longer than a heartbeat, because that's what she said. She said, I'll kill you in a heartbeat. And you get that, hot. And then it's like, okay, so we're together. And then they go to escape. The general turns up, Christopher Eccleston turns up. He's in the cab waiting for him. He's like, you killed my boys. And he shoots Jim. And you're like, oh, Christ, all that. And he's like, been shot. And then the young girl who's in the driving seat of the cab, she then drags the cab back. Eccleston's in the cab. He goes back. The back window goes into the doorway of the manor house when one of the infected grabs Christopher Eccleston and drags him out, and obviously kills him, beats him, kills him. And then you see him driving the car. Jim's in the back. He's holding his gunshot wound. Selena's in the back with him, and Hannah's driving the car. Young Hannah's driving the car. He gets to the gates, and they're locked. And Hannah they say, just do it. And Hannah floors it and hits the gates, and it sort of freezes as they're like in the car. And I thought, oh my God, what a crap in the film. You're not going to know what happens. But then you do see it a bit more. So you see Jim wake up again from what's like another coma. And he's healed. Obviously, Selena's taking care of him. She's got a medical background. She's got a bit of medical background training as well. She heals him up. And they're in the middle of like nowhere. This little, it looks like a lovely little cottage. It's a proper sweet little cottage in the middle of nowhere. And they're laying out a big sheet that says help. And planes fly over, and you kind of get that feeling of hope. So it leaves you with a feeling of hope. Like you see a plane go over, and they say, yeah, someone's still there. I think it's an American voice. Someone's there and that, and they're flying over. And you're like, that's hope. So the film leaves you with this hope that these people might actually make it. Because they've managed to get themselves away, seclude themselves in somewhere, and we feel that these people might make it. And I thought the second film would be about them, but it's not. So let's just talk this film. So this film was a brilliant film that literally takes you on an emotional roller coaster where you are, 1 minute you're kind of like, you have no clue what's happening. Then when you find out, you're kind of settled. Then you meet these characters you think are going to be great with the Jim, Selena and Mark. I think these three are going to sort of get on. Mark gets killed off quite quickly. It's just Jim and Selena. Then you get the other two, Hannah and Frank, turn up, and they form a bond, and you care. The way they film these characters, the way these characters act, you care. And the guy that plays Frank has been in a lot of films. He often plays, I think he's Scottish in real life. He often plays like a Scotsman in a lot of things. He was in Lake Placid. He played the hilarious sheriff in Lake Placid. That is a good recommendation. If you haven't seen Lake Placid and you like creature feature films about a giant crocodile in Lake, it's absolutely hilarious. One of the funniest films ever. And he's funny in it as well. Him against Oliver Platt playing off each other. Phenomenal. And then, as I said, then we go on to have like more sort of like the fun side of it, where they're sort of on this little road trip and they're kind of enjoying their life together, and you sort of, again, you bond with these characters so much more. You then move on a bit more and you get to the blockade, and it's like the disappointment, and you're feeling every part of this with these people. This was it Danny? I want to say it's Danny Boyle who directed this, isn't it? Oh, now I can't see it. Yeah, Danny Boyle. He manages to get you to care so much for these people that you just want them to do well. You want them to succeed. And then, of course, it gets taken away when you find there's no one at the blockade. Then, obviously, Frank dies and you get heartbroken. And then you get more people dying. And then you get the big, like, that's military turn out that they're not as good as they seem. And then what their motives were. And their motives are horrific. And you just feel, God. And it makes you feel almost sick to see this. And then you get the big triumphant ending. And Jim going savage. And then with the hope at the end that there is a chance for these people. And you feel good. So that's that one done. That's 28 days later. So now I've got to go with, I'll be back in a second, I'll get it down. 28 weeks later. So I'll be watching this one next, and I'll let you know what I think of it after I've watched it. 28 weeks later. 28 days later, one of the best horror films ever. And to answer the question that most people answer, is this a zombie movie? No. It's a film about an outbreak of a disease, so it's not a zombie movie. I know there's people arguing online about this. They're not zombies, they're infected. So if I've used the term zombie at any point during this, it's because I've made a mistake. They are infected. They're infected with a virus. They haven't died and come back. They are just carrying this virus that's taken over them mentally, whatever. But we're going to move on to 28 weeks later. So 28 weeks later will be the next one. And Wild ride time coming. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, so I've now watched 28 weeks later. So this is the sequel to the first one. And I will say off the bat that this one is not as good as the first one. It's very different from the first one. And it's a great movie still. It is a really good movie still, but it's still not a patch on that first one. The main reason this is because the characters. As much as in the first film you sort of care so much for the characters, you like really want to do well. This one you don't have that same connection with the characters, I think. I don't know if it's because you don't have the same characters running all the way through the film. You sort of start with some, then you get the main ones and you go on. But it's saying you don't feel as much connected to these people as you did the first film. It's almost like it's too big. Like the first film's quite contained with the little cast. There's only like, was it four people in the group and a few extra military guys. There's not that much of a cast. This is a lot more of a cast and a lot more famous names. I think that helps as well, because when in the first one you don't really recognise everyone here. Obviously, what's his name? Cillian Murphy. You recognise him, who's Jim, but you don't really recognise any other names and faces as big. I mean, you recognise them, but they're not like massive stars. In the sequel, there are some massive stars. We've got Jeremy Renner, who I forgot was in the film. You've got Idris Elba, the girl from Bridesmaids, who now I can't remember, Robert Carlyle, who's Full Monty guy. He's there and he's a massive star. So there are a lot of big name people in this film, and the helicopter pilot's a guy from Lost as well. If you remember, he was the one that had the son as well in Lost. So recognisable faces and bigger names in this one. So where's the film start? So we start off in a farmhouse that's all boarded up, and we've got our Robert Carlyle's there with his wife. Again, I can't remember the names of the characters. From the first film, I can remember the names of the characters. This one, I can't. So you've got Robert Carlyle and his wife in this house with a couple of other people, and they're all barricaded in. And they're sitting down to have something to eat, and then suddenly you get a knock on the door, and there's a kid at the door, and he's trying to get in. So they let the kid in, but he's been followed by infected. And the infected smash their way through the house, and the Robert Carlyle's wife runs up the stairs with the kid, as the kid's running away as well. Her and Robert Carlyle kind of get separated a little bit, and the rest of the people in the house, they kind of get separated as well. They go one way, Robert Carlyle's kind of one way, and then you get the wife the other. But he tries to follow the wife up the stairs, and then you get a situation where you've got the wife and the kid on one side of the room, affected has come in the room, and you've got Robert Carlyle on the other, and she's screaming to him to help them, and he doesn't. He kind of just shuts the door and runs. And to be honest with you, in that situation, there's not a lot he could have done. You're kind of trying to see him as like a coward, and he leaves his wife to die. But if we're honest, there's not a hell of a lot he could have done in that moment. So he then runs. He then looks back to the window, and you see the wife at the window, and then suddenly you see her just disappear. Sorry. So you assume that she's dead. And Robert Carlyle's running away, managed to get on a boat, and he gets away down a river. And then it goes 28 weeks later. So obviously we're then jumping forward now. And you get a little montagey thing of sort of like what has happened in the 28 weeks, that basically after 5 weeks, all the infected died of starvation. All the infected, which is something they mentioned in the first movie, like we're trying to work out that soldiers had that one guy who's chained up. So we've worked out that they're basically, the infected have all died. There's no one else infected in the country. So that the Americans have come in, and they're sort of finding survivors, little pockets of survivors, and they bring them all into London, into Canary Wharf area of London. And they're sort of containing them in that, trying to sort of like rebuild. Now it's time to sort of like rebuild and sort of like get the world back up and running again, the country back up and running again. So they're starting this little area of Canary Wharf. And then you've got a plane coming in, and it's actually the children of Robert Carlyle and his wife are on the plane, because they were obviously holidaying away somewhere in another country, and they were obviously coming back. So this is like big that they're bringing people back in. And then you see a doctor who's played by the woman from Bridesmaids, who I can't remember. I think she might be Australian or British, I don't know, but she's playing American in this, and she's watching the plane go. So she didn't know there were kids coming. Then you see the kids going through this sort of like the quarantine-y bit. And you know, so one of the kids, like the mum you saw earlier, has one eye different colours to the other. It's got a blue eye and a brown eye, like David Bowie, but he's probably the most famous one to have this sort of different colour eyes. So we then the kids manage to meet up with Robert Carlyle. He then tells them what happened to their mum, but he kind of like makes it sound a bit more like he couldn't have done anything. A bit more sort of like, again, like a cowardly way of saying, I couldn't do anything. I had to run away. She died. I saw her die. That sort of thing. Even though he kind of didn't, but anyway. So fast forward. So then we get the kids are at home and they're like, and the brother says like, who's a brother and sister, the older sister, younger brother, and says that I'm really sort of like missing mum. I'm worried I'm not going to remember what she looks like. I don't even know a picture. And the sister says, well, we can just go and get one. We don't live that far away. So their plan is to break out of the Canary Wharf little compound and go and get a photo of the mum to remember her by. And they basically do this, which is ridiculous if you think about it, because these two kids who don't really know the area that well have managed to break out. Well, there's military snipers around, and that's where we meet Jeremy Renner, by the way. Old Hawkeye, he's actually being Hawkeye. He's a military sniper on top of a roof, and they're just kind of watching the area. He sees them go. So then obviously he radios through for the troops to go and get them back. But anyway, you see the kids, they work their way through London. They end up going to their house, and they get into the house, and while in the house, the boy goes up into the bedroom and he finds the mum is still alive, and she's massively traumatized. She's been living in that house. It looks like she managed to escape the farmhouse and just went back home, and she's been living in her house quite traumatized. She's kind of like feral almost in this house, and she sees the boy. She hugs him. She won't let go. She's holding on to him really, really tight. It's like she hurt the poor kid. And there we go with that. So then the military turn up. They take them all back to the compound, the Canary Wharf compound, and the doctor does some tests on the mum, finds out she's got the virus. She's carrying the virus, but she isn't affected by it. So she's kind of like got an immunity to it, but she will carry it in her saliva and her blood. So then, obviously, the kids are a bit wound up that Robert Carlyle lied to them. Their dad's lied to them about what happened to the mum, because he said he saw her die, but obviously he didn't. So they're like kind of peed off with him. So he goes to see the mum as well. He then, because he's got the security clearance, he's like a maintenance guy sort of thing. He's got the security stuff. He goes, finds the mum, talks to her for a bit, says I love you, and then he kisses her. And obviously that kiss, she's got the thing, and we know how fast the rage takes over. So he kisses her, and they're kissing away, and the next thing you know, he gets rage, and he starts going all that rage stuff, the blood and all that starts coming out. He turns, and this is a very uncomfortable scene to watch. He then turns to the woman they strapped her to a bed basically, and he beats her to like death basically. He punches her eyes out with his thumbs. He just keeps hitting her and hitting her and hitting her. So obviously kills her. Then you see kind of like an over the shoulder camera view of what Robert Carlyle sort of going around killing and infecting other soldiers. And of course then the infection breaks out in the compound where you think you're safe. And because the way the rage virus is, it takes over in seconds. Like you get bit or you get blood on you, and it's like, and you instantly you're a crazed lunatic. So it's starting to infect other people, and then of course the military understand this, so they then shut everything down, do like a code red where they're sort of trying to contain it a bit more, and they contain a load of people in. They're trying to contain people in this like room sort of thing, it's like a downstairs lobby basement thing. So then we get the doctor who realizes what's going on. So she wants to get to those kids quick, because she knows that the kids are actually possibly, if the mum's immune to it because of a different colour eye thing, that the kids could be as well, because the son especially, because he's got the same thing, the different colour eyes. So he then so she then goes after him, the doctor, trying to find the kids, manages to find them. As she's trying to escort them out, the military is sort of like pushing them one way, and there's all the crowds are starting to gather and push, and the boy gets separated from the girl, the sort of older sister and the doctor, and the boy gets separated. So he's then off getting trapped and pushed away to somewhere else. He ends up in this big like underground bit they've got, like a car park almost, where everyone's sort of gathering and getting put together, and the military starts shutting the doors on them, so they're staying in there. They're trying to sort of contain them so they don't get in any trouble sort of thing, but people start panicking, pushing on the doors, etc. So the boy works his way through the crowd, sort of finds a little quiet corner, and there's a door. And when he looks through the door, he can see his rage-infected dad staring back at him, And then of course the doors opens and then the raid gets into that room. Now, if you remember in the first film, the character Mark, who gets killed early on by Celine, he tells a story about when he was in like a train station full of people, a packed people train station, and the virus got in the station, and he sort of couldn't tell who was infected, who wasn't. He had to climb over bodies to get on top of a cart, and like there was like just randomly people getting turned into infected, and they were just infecting other people, and it just went crazy. And he saw his dad, and it freaked him out because obviously his dad looked different because he got infected, and he managed to escape. So then we get the same sort of thing happening in this scene where you've got infected biting people, people turning into infected by other people, and it slowly sort of like ripples through this thing, and there's panic, there's chaos, and then people manage to break the doors down and run. Of course, everyone then just runs out of the building. So you've got people running, infected running out, everything's going crazy. And the military, what's his name? Idris Elba, who's kind of in charge of the military, he orders like shoot all the infected. So all the snipers are up there with their guns and they're just shooting the infected as they go. And it's starting to do that, but then they realise they can't just shoot infected. They can't tell who's infected and who's not because people are just running like chaotic everywhere. So then the order is given, kill everyone. We're just going to kill everyone now. And they just start gunning down everyone. And Jeremy Renner's up there, old Hawkeye, he's up there and he's shooting people. And then he sees the kid, the one we've been following, like the young boy. And he's like, oh, and he can't do it. So he puts the gun down and he sees another sniper across from him get killed as well, like by infected. So he's like, do you know what? Screw it. And he just drops his gun and he just gets his whatever, and he legs it. And the kid manages to get called into like a sort of side off. It almost looks like a shop, and he gets called into there. He goes into the shop and he starts to sort of like calm down, walks around the shop. There's a few other survivors who are all locked in the shop. And then luckily enough, his sister is in there with the doctor. So somehow they've managed to get to this little shop as well. And that's great because they're all now together. So they're all standing up, what do we do? We don't to do while they're shooting that sort of thing. And then suddenly Jeremy Renner appears because he saw where the boy went when he was losing his sniper rifle. And he goes down and he says, look, they're basically just going to kill us all. We've got to get out of here because they will literally kill everyone. We know it's coming. So they then go on a little mission trying to walk out of the Canary Wharf area. And they kind of do a good job. They manage to get through. A few of them get killed along the way by the snipers, and Jeremy Renner's got to do sort of like if you've ever seen the film Enemy of the State, kind of like thing like that, where you're a sniper versus sniper sort of thing, he manages to kill him. It's great. It's fantastic. That's a great scene, actually. Like the little boy runs out like a little decoy, and Jeremy Renner manages to get the guy. And they manage to escape out of the Canary Wharf bit, and they sort of go into London. Just as this is happening, we find out that they're going to basically firebomb the whole of Canary Wharf. So Canary Wharf just becomes like a blaze of fire. And I think it's napalm, I guess they're using. They basically just like wipe out the whole of Canary Wharf. And you see the fire spreading through the streets and all that of Canary Wharf, and all the buildings blowing up and catching fire. You see people getting incinerated and that sort of stuff. But our heroes' little group have sort of managed to escape and get out. And they're sort of running. Now, Jeremy Renner's got a mate who pilots the helicopters, and it's the guy that was in Lost that played the father and son duo in Lost. And he's like piloting the plane, and he says to Jeremy Renner, look, I can try and get you out, try and get to this point here, but just so you know, there's some affected have got out of this Canary Wharf thing, and they didn't get set all incinerated. Not everyone got incinerated, so there's some infected running out. There's a few of them away from you. He said, he'll be with you in 60. And he's what, 60 minutes? He's like, no, 60 seconds. And with that, you can see like a horde of infected running through a field at them. So then the helicopter guy comes down to pick up Jeremy Renner, but he realises there's other people there as well. He's like, I'm not taking other people. What are you doing? And Jeremy Renner's like, no, you have to take these guys across the channel to France. This is really important. These people have to get out. So, like the kids especially, because obviously the cure could be in this kid. So, or a vaccine or something like a vaccine could be made from this kid's immunity, you know. So they're sort of discussing what to do. Suddenly one of the guys that's in the group with them, who's a bit cowardly, he jumps on the helicopter trying to escape. And of course that pulls the helicopter funny, so the helicopter pilots to go up in the air, and the horde's still coming. So the pilot decides the best thing to do is to lower his helicopter like that, so the blades are like chopping like that, and he goes through the horde and like just hacks loads of them into pieces, but some do escape. And they're still coming for like Jeremy Renner and that. So they run, and the helicopter guy says, look, you're going to have to meet me at Wembley. Meet me at Wembley Stadium. It's a place I can land a helicopter, so you've got to get there, and it's not that far away. But if you know London, Wembley Stadium is quite a bit farther away than Canary Wharf. It's quite a bit of a trek, to be honest with you. So they're now heading towards Wembley, and they're heading towards Wembley, and they're running along. Suddenly, there's gas in the street. So now they've obviously napalmed to Canary Wharf. Then there's gas in the rest of the streets to try and kill off whatever infected around. And as the gas is coming, they quickly dive into a car. They try to start the car, it doesn't work. So Jeremy Renner gets out to start the car, and these military guys turn up with guns and flamethrowers, and they just flamethrower the crap out of Jeremy Renner. But he manages to get the car going, but then he dies. So that's the end of him. Obviously, a hero's death there, a real big hero's death. Then we go a bit further on, and they manage to sort of drive the car to sort of down this bit, and they have to go down into like a tube station to obviously get to Wembley. So they go into the tube station, have three left. So you've got the doctor left and the two kids, the older sister and the younger brother. And they go, and then you get kind of almost like a found footagey movie, like the old school found footage movie, where they go into these dark times where there's no light stands, completely pitch black. But the doctor's got hold of a night vision scope from the gun, and she's using that to see what's going on. And they're in the pitch black, and they kind of get it separated in the pitch black, and then suddenly Robert Carlyle, the dad, appears from nowhere and starts killing the doctor, like kills her to death with her own gun, basically. And then you get the sister and the brother in this like subway station. There's like train there on the tracks and that. And the brother's like walking around on his own down there. And next thing you know, Robert Carlyle's face to face with his father and son, basically face to face. And he attacks goes to attack the kid. The kid's on the floor, like screaming, crying, sort of thing, as the dad's trying to get him, and then the dad bites him on the neck. So obviously now the kid's now infected. The sister comes running down, gets the gun. Rockcall runs at her, she tries to shoot him twice, puts him down, and then she goes after her brother. Brother runs away, obviously thinking, oh my god, infected, tries to run away. Just leave me alone, runs. She follows him, catches up with him, and like he falls to the ground. And when you see him trying to get back up, you're thinking, oh god, he's infected. And he turns around and he's not infected, and he says, am I like them? And she looks in his eye, and you can see like the blood's trying to get into the eye, and so it can't. Obviously that thing with the two different eyes is what helps the infection. Whatever genetics causes that difference between the two eyes is the thing. So that's the brown eye and blue eye. So whatever causes that is what stops the rage virus taking over. And I was like, that is brilliant. What a great way to do it. Like it's like a natural thing that can stop this. So the boy is now infected though, but he's not giving off symptoms of the disease. He's just got the infection in him. So then we see that the two kids, they make it to Wembley Stadium, go on the grounds. The guy sitting, there's quite a funny shot of Wembley where you've got the grass has grown long in it, and I thought that was quite funny. Like, that's quite a nice little touch. The grass is quite long in Wembley. There's like little flowers in the grass, little buttercups and that. Although I don't think that would have happened so quick, because it would take a while for those to, anyway. I'm going to get all biologists on you, like the whole like how that can't happen. But anyway, so there's things going in the Wembley, and the helicopter's there, and he's like, where is, I can't remember the name of the guy, whatever he was called, where is Hawkeye? And they're like, he didn't make it, he's dead. So then the guy like gets him in the helicopter, and he flies them. You see him flying sort of over France, over Kent, and then not over London. You can see like the remains of like the smoking, smouldering remains of Battersea. Not Battersea, sorry, Canary Wharf. All smoking remains of Canary Wharf. And then you sort of go over Kent, you see all the fields in Kent, and then you sort of hit Dover, and you see him go over the cliffs of Dover. And onwards to France, obviously. And then it says 28 days later, what's the title of the first film? And you see the helicopter, it looks like it's kind of crashed. Like the helicopter transported into France has crashed, and there's no one in the helicopter, it's just empty. And then you see infected running down a street, and you suddenly realise they're in Paris, and you see the Eiffel Tower. So what you expect to believe is that maybe the boy somehow passed the virus onto his sister or onto the pilot of the helicopter, and then it's either crashed in France, and then the disease has spread to France. So that means if it's spread to France, it's going to then spread all the way through Europe, because you can't exactly contain France, because it's like linked to Italy and Spain and all that. They're all sort of connected. Where England's sort of on a little island on its own, it's part of Europe, but it's like separate from Europe in a way. So we're not like land stuck together, like landlocked together, but like France and all that are. So I'm guessing it's then going to spread across the world. So maybe that's where we get into the new one 28 years later. It's the whole world's infected, and it's like it hasn't. Maybe we're not even in England anymore. I don't know. I've not seen enough of the trailers to know what's coming. That's why I'm kind of really looking forward to see this movie now. So that's where that film ends. There is one bit I did like, is when you see like London like burning with a thing. It kind of had a sort of like Fire of London feel to it. Like that must what that was kind of like. But now I thought that was quite a nice little touch. Yeah, so a lot happens in this movie. A lot more happens in this movie than in the last movie. But I don't feel I had a connection with those characters like I did the last movie. In the last movie, I had a massive connection with those characters. I really wanted them to do well and like go on and like do really well. But this movie, I didn't have that same connection. I didn't feel that care for the characters. I didn't care as much as I did before. Like with the previous characters, you honestly do not want anything bad to happen to them. With these ones, it's kind of happening. You're not really. I mean, Jeremy Renner's like kind of like the action hero of the group, and when he dies, you're kind of just like, oh well, let's keep going, and you don't feel that remorse that you did for like when Frank died in the first one, the dad. So, you know, but still, great films, really good films to watch anyway, and I'm really looking forward to 28 Weeks Later, which is out like tomorrow, I think. So I'll be running to see that, and I'm hoping it's going to be a good film. I mean, I might watch it actually on Monday, I think, because I think I'm a bit busy this weekend. But I'm going to try and watch it on Monday, and I'll probably put a review up for it on Monday or Tuesday. Whenever I've watched it, I'll put the review up for you, okay? So anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, sort of thought I heard something. If you do, like, subscribe, share, and all that. It would be really great if you could do that. Thanks a lot. Really thought I heard something then. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Goodbye. What is that?